Someone said that they think it was that he had to go to New York to see what he could do. Maybe there was something he could do there. So Erwin went to New York. But anyhow, well, what basically had happened is that Erwin had gotten a call from Dr. Kenmore. He was a devotee of Baba. And he apparently had gotten a message from Baba. And my brother called me up and said that Dr. Kenmore had gotten in touch with him and said that he was to give him, Baba said he was to give him whatever money we needed to go to see him in India. Wow. And so my brother and I went to Kenmore, and Kenmore had basically said that yes, Baba had said that I'm to give you whatever money you want. So we said to him, well, what do you think? You should give us, for the tickets. And then he said, well, Baba said that I'm to give you whatever amount you ask for. So you name whatever amount you want, because all I do when it comes to Baba is I obey. I don't ask no questions. I just obey. So Erwin and I had to figure out. We figured out pretty quickly the amount of money that was required for our tickets and our stay there and everything. And then Kenmore immediately wrote out a check for the amount. And so then my father, of course, then heard the news, and we told him that there was someone that was going to give us the money, that had given us the money, and upon Baba's request. So then at that point, Baba had said, the only thing that my father then said when he heard that Baba had seen to it that we had the money, he said, the only thing I can say to you guys is that Baba must love you guys very much. And and with my father, when it came to money, if someone was willing to put the money out, that was real. That money is fucking real. That's life. And so and he says, I don't know what Baba needs you guys for, but that I don't understand, or anything like that. But he the only thing he said is what he had said previous. The only way you guys are going to go, he said, after we'd given him the money, is that your Baba is going to have to send you a flying carpet, because that's the only way you're going to get to India. And so anyhow, now we, of course, and so now we were, off to India once again, and we had gotten the news a little late at that time, so we knew that if we got there, that Baba was giving a darshan, and if we got there, it would be pretty much at the last. We figured out if all of our flights went in sequence, because we'd have to go in different flights to get there in time, being it was at the last minute, that we'd arrive there on the last day of that particular darshan. So anyhow, so Erwin and I. And it was very interesting, because to get everything so quick at that point meant that I had to go. He said, "You're going to have to leave immediately to get our visas." Erwin said to me, "So you're going to have to go ahead, and I'll see to the passports in Miami, and I'll arrange that." So back at that time in 1961. I wasn't, like totally aware, of what's involved in getting a visa in those days. Now you can get it like practically overnight, but not at that time. So I went on to New York, and then I was supposed to meet Erwin the following day with the visa towards the latter part of the day, and so I got there that day, and then I went right up to the embassy consulate, the India embassy consulate, to get the visa. And I told the lady there. She said, "Yes, what would you like?" And I says, "What I need is a visa for my brother and I." She said, "Well, that's good. When do you need it?" And I says, "I need it for tomorrow. I need to have it. Actually, I told her today." And she says, today? I says, yes, I'd like to have the visa today. And she said, well, that's not possible. And I says, what do you mean it's not possible? She says, you can't get it today. And I says, well, we have to have it because the flight to India leaves tomorrow. So she said, well, she says, these things take, people apply for them, they can take some months to get. And I says, well, I don't know about as far as months and things like that, but we need it for tomorrow because tomorrow is when the flight leaves in the latter part of the day. So she says, this is not possible. And I said to her, and I says, well, this thing, it has to be done. And just then, a man came in, a beautifully dressed man in a black suit, young man, and he heard that there was a problem, and he says, what's going on here? And she says, this young man here, he comes in and he starts telling me I've got to have 2 visas ready for tomorrow so that they can go on this trip. And I told him these things take months. And then he says to her, he says, I want you to come with me into the office. And so she goes into the office with him. And then I start to hear a lot of loud talking going on. I mean, loud talking through the door. And then she comes out and she says to me, she says, when did you say you would like the visa? And I says, well, I would like it, if you could have it ready today. She says, well, could I give it to you tomorrow morning? And I says, well, yeah, tomorrow morning would be fine. He says, that'll be all right. And she says, thank you. And she says, they'll be ready tomorrow morning. And so the visa was, so the following day, the visa, the papers were all set and ready. And so that was quite a, I didn't realize at that time what was really going on, how Baba was working behind the scenes and pulling these kinds of strings, especially when she said they took months. I saw she wasn't, she wasn't telling, like a lie. I just quickly realized these things actually take some time. And but also I felt that if Baba is God, then he can do whatever he so wishes, to pull the strings behind the scenes. In that respect. So anyhow, then the following day I came to the embassy, and she handed me the visas, and then I was to meet Erwin at a specific time at the airport, and then we met there, and Erwin asked me if I had the visas, and I said yes, and I said, do you have the passports? And he said yes, and then we got on the plane, and it was still a little difficult because we knew my father, we didn't know where he would be at, because he could stop us en route in another country, he was, if he so wished. So there was some concern in that respect. But then we did arrive in India. My father had not done anything. Apparently he had quite a respect for Baba, the fact that he had the money put out for us, and things like that at that point. And so anyhow, when we arrived in India, there was a man there that met us at the airport in Bombay, and then from there he saw to it that we went directly to Pune, and then from Pune, then we went right to Guru Prasad, where Baba would be, where he was giving darshan for that week. And when we got there, when we did get to Guru Prasad on that particular morning, Baba, I don't recall anyone being there at that time in the room. I remember Erwin, we got onto the veranda, and Erwin went to, because we didn't know which room. Guru Prasad is a very big place, which is a huge place with a lot of doors. So Erwin went on to the left side. I went around towards the front. And then I saw Baba. I saw Baba directly inside. And then I quickly went around to get Erwin, because Baba said we would be together. And so I told Erwin, I says, Baba's in the front part. And so Erwin came running. He came running right around. And so then at that point, Erwin and I went right into where Baba was. And there was just maybe about, I remember there might have been about just 2 people that were connected with Baba, as far as like close people. And Baba gestured for us to come right over to him. And Baba was about probably easy about, I would say about maybe 70 feet in into that room. It was a very large room. So we went right to Baba, and then Baba was he was very, very happy to see us. And we came right into him, and the embrace, and then right after that, Baba put his hand up. He put his hand up, and he clicked his finger, and a man came out. A man jumped out, and he jumped out from the side. And when he jumped out, he had a camera, and he took a picture, and then he just went to the side of the building. We didn't see him after that. And then Baba said to one of his disciples, make sure that this is sent, that Erwin and Edward have this picture, and meaning it should be sent to us. So then shortly, let's see. Then shortly, let's see, right after that,
what were you feeling at that moment, the initial meeting from?
Okay, to go back to that, my experience was this. As we were coming into the room, Erwin and I saw Baba. Baba at a distance of, I'd say, about 70 feet, he looked like a baby. And as I got in closer, a little bit closer, I says, it looks like I'm seeing like a baby sitting in a chair. I mean, literally a baby. And I can stand to see. I says, it's like a baby sitting in the chair. And I got in closer, and that's all I could see. And then as I got in closer, around 30 feet, then I start to see the form of, that was a man. There's a man, actually. This is a man, and he's sitting there. And then I started to see he was emanating, the purest feelings of like a newborn baby. And it was just something that was self-emanating from him, in that respect. And then I started to orientate myself, and I says, it's like I'm seeing like in a man's form, but the innocence, the purity of a baby. That was my experience of coming into the room, seeing Baba at that time. And then shortly after that,
Erwin, how did he feel? What was his experience?
Erwin didn't say anything, and I never, you'd have to find out from Erwin actually what his experience was, at that particular time. And but we had left so sudden and so quick that even my father didn't know we were leaving, because we figured maybe it's best he doesn't even know, and we just go, even though he knows we have the money and everything now. So then the next thing, Baba had gotten up, and then he says, do your parents know that you're here? And we said no. And when we said no, Baba just looked up in the air. He just looked straight up. And when he looked up, it felt like the whole world had just moved up. And something had to really be done and done very fast. That was my impression, that there was something very, very traumatic that was going on that I couldn't see, and that Baba had the sight to see, and he looked up, and he just, when he looked up, there was something that was going on that he was doing. You got that sense, and then he looked, then his head went down, and he looked at my brother and I, and he said that we're not to worry about this here, and that he told to Maraji, one of the people close, he said, what they should do right away is to have a telegram sent immediately to their parents, telling them, that we're here and that we'll be returning shortly. And that was all that occurred at that point in time. And then Baba just wanted us to be very, very close to him. He said, stick very close to me now. And so on that particular last day, there were people that were these musicians that were singing, and they were singing these devotional love songs to God. And I remember sitting next to Baba, right next to him, and one of the things that I noticed, I was looking at, was his skin. I says, his skin is like the skin of like a baby again, like pure, like ivory. And I'd never seen skin like that, and I'd never seen that kind of skin on a man. So I says, it was very like enchanting to see that kind of the quality of skin that he had. And so I was just for a while, I was just kind of like lost in the beauty of the skin that was coating his body, in that respect. And then Baba had said to Irwin that people could come up, they could come up to him, but nobody was to touch his feet. And so he had asked Irwin, who's seated there, he said to put a pillow over Baba's feet, to put something over that people don't try to touch his feet or anything. And so Irwin had to make sure nobody touched Baba's feet. And so that went on for a while, and then Irwin, it wasn't necessary, Baba said, because the people weren't coming up anymore. I mean, they could kind of embrace him and things like that, but no one was to touch his feet. Then after that, Baba, being really close to Baba, and there was one point as things were going on there inside the room, I don't recall, Baba wasn't saying anything, but then I saw that at one point that Baba somehow was not in his physical body. It's like he was somewhere else. And but yet he was sitting there like everything would be going on natural, totally natural. And even though I could see, it would appear to the people that are at a distance, they couldn't really see that close-up shot that I was having, that Baba was not in the body. It's like he was somewhere else, whatever was going on or whatever he was doing, but he wasn't there, but yet it appeared like he was right there. And then and then suddenly I felt him come right into his body, and boom, he was like right in, and in that moment, it was like in a flash, his eyes like everything like just came right into him, where he was seeing everything that was going on with, so to speak, with that, what they call it, that unique side of his, and that he was suddenly experiencing everybody and everything in a split second. And so then I got to see where Baba was doing different things at the same time with that kind of work or consciousness that he was here for. And so then it was Baba's way of, so to speak, once again introducing me again to what the power or the authority or the part that the avatar his role that he plays in the world when he's here, and to start to familiarize me, because I knew nothing as far as, you know, how a master works. I mean, I knew absolutely nothing. I just read a book, and it was mostly, everything I read was, you know, was like intellectual. It was just things I, you know, had read and had no experience of. And yet it all sounded very good. So here I was experiencing these things directly and personally. And so then I began to experience more and more what it's like to be in the company of, so to speak, the Christ or Mohammed or Zoroaster or Buddha. What it was like to, what a person would start to become exposed to in their, based on their beingness. Sometimes when I saw Baba, I saw the power of that I could see as authority. When you saw that authority, you just knew that you were in the presence of someone phenomenal that actually had the experience of the knowledge of what he was doing, came directly from the source of truth, and you saw the authority behind that. So this was what I was, again, seeing these different things. And so, and then, you know, then when Erwin and I were to go back to America, because then Baba said we were to return. And of course, we did not want to return. You know, we wanted to be there with the hope maybe Baba can help us, you know, spiritually by being there. However, we knew that the days of his training of the disciples and the devotees was some time ago, and that now a great deal of his work was inner work for all of humanity, and it was a whole different phase of Baba's work now. So then that particular darshan was over, and Baba had said that last day was the most important day. So I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I'll draw it to you know, a close at this time.
But you say later on you came, you know, when you talked about when you were in Miami, you had this feeling of glowing. I mean, is this what you're feeling you had again when you were in India? And you said you experienced more later. So what else did you experience later?
Yes, as time went on, then there were more experiences to come, because Baba had to intensify because we're within the time that Baba's here to, you know, working with us and waking us up. He had to intensify more of his divinity, of who he actually is, because I was, like I say, very young. You know, I wasn't aware of what an avatar was. You know, I read these were all words to me. You know, I didn't know what they meant. So they had to start to come alive to me. And so, yes, Aaron?
So I'd like to thank you for your beautiful and courageous effort to give over as accurately and as minutely as you could these experiences. I very much appreciate that. I'm sure we all do, especially those of us who didn't have the fortune to meet the Master in the physical form. And listening to you, it's made me ponder the fact that you were one of my first Meher Baba mentors. I met you early in my career as a Baba lover in the fall of '67. And as I was pondering, it seems to me that you, perhaps more than anyone else, infused in me a feeling of divine expectancy of Meher Baba's imminent breaking of his silence. At that time, you were broadcasting that feeling very powerfully, and I picked up on it for whatever reason. I was very receptive to it, or whatever it was, and the feeling that Baba was giving out in the late '60s, that the time is so near that at any moment I could break my silence, and the only thing that matters is love. And that became sort of the cauldron of my shaping as a Baba lover, and that feeling has never left me. That feeling of imminent expectancy of Meher Baba's silence breaking, to this day, I live in that space that you ignited in me. For better or for worse, I don't know. I mean, you know, some of it may, you know, at times I've thought that perhaps it's led to my being less practical in life than other Bible lovers, because I've lived my life with that feeling of the absolute, you know, essential of Baba's love as being more important than anything, and also the imminence of the breaking of the silence. And I was wondering, where are you with that at this point, in terms of the imminence of Baba's breaking of the silence? How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's very simple. I guess for me, it's something like, I feel in a way that, well, I felt in one sense that there was a breaking of Baba's silence in one way in the very beginning, when I had that experience through that photograph of Purdom, when I had the experience of the awakening of that this was the Christ, he was back again, and that was like an awakening through silence, as Purdom had said in that little what he had to say about this meeting with Baba, and he said, Mayor Baba doesn't have to speak. He has the power of truth within him. And for me, what that was that I realized I had experienced the same, what Purdom just spoke about, that it happened totally in silence, and that I had not met Baba physically. And he had the power of that truth. Somehow I had connected with it, that he was who he said he was. And that was like a breaking of a silence in that respect. In another way now, there was another break. What I would say, how the silence begins to break, is like when Baba had said to me, he used to say, like, to remember me. He always used to say that in his letters, and I'd say, oh yes, yes, I must remember Baba, because I would forget. My mind wouldn't be, you know, just thinking of the daily things that were going on around me. And but then, so I would start to try to remember Baba, but then later on he said to remember me with love. And then I says, oh boy, he's really up the ante here, because for me to experience love, the only thing I had experienced in my life was the fear of my father. Yeah, fear. Love, that was going to be a hard one. So for me, I would say, I guess time went on to try to experience and connect with that love and that compassion that Baba speaks about for others, that had to be awakened in me. It just couldn't be like seeing Baba work with the lepers, you know, and say, oh yes, this is a very great man, but to start to feel something of that compassion for people themselves that are in that state of ignorance, that creates suffering, and instead of that, where that love is like forgiveness, it's charity, it's thinking of others more than just my own, just not being just involved in my own little world where everything revolves around me, or just being, like you say, self-centered, but to try to feel for others and be there for others and to do for others, to experience that. And I think that it was Baba's way, that Baba had to put me in circumstances where I'd start to feel for other people and start to do for others, to try to be of like service in some way. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to serve, to be of service. You can just through a smile, you know, or a gentle word, you know. So when I look at, you know, the thing with Baba said, you know, to remember him with love, this was by starting to learn these things, to exercise these kinds of characteristics in life. It was a way of opening the door by trying to, so to speak, like he said, you know, God can't be, you know, he has to be lived. He has, you know, in order to be experienced. So in that respect, I think what I like when they had a Baba booth, and in the Baba booth the person was serving by sharing Baba's message through his pamphlets and literature, and she said by doing the work here, it is what I experience is not so much the, that's the other people are getting help, but rather it's me. By doing this, I'm the one who's really is getting the help, and that was like waking me up, to ways to experience, that love or that caring, being more of a caring individual, more of a sensitive individual. And
I'd like to make a request, because logistically tonight we have found out that we need to go to the Upper West Side to get your luggage, and and that you will be speaking tomorrow at the potluck.
Okay.
And perhaps now what we could do is have people who want to meet you personally one-on-one. We could have that time. People could also look at the items in the store, because all of that will have to be put away, and we've already run over. And we have a certain agreement with the Esophageal Society.
Absolutely.
Not
Okay.
only we stay in this space. If it's okay with you,
Fine.
perhaps we could do a one-on-one now. People could meet.
Absolutely.
Look at the store. Thank you so much.
All righty.
I'd just like to ask if anyone would be kind enough to offer me a ride tomorrow to the